Welcome back. In this subject lecture CHG 190 Introduction to Solid State of Matter and chapter number 2 Defects and Non-Stoichiometry. I am Mr. V.D. Jadhav from the Department of Chemistry, KTHM College, Nasik. Student, in previous lecture we have seen solid electrolytes, then fast ion conductors, silver ion conductors, sodium ion conductors, oxygen ion conductors. In today's lecture, we are learn the point that is application of solid electrolytes. You know, solid electrolytes are used in batteries such as lithium batteries, then sodium batteries. Here we are discuss fuel cells, then electrochemical devices and sensors, because these three application included in your syllabus, and the application in batteries they are not include or are not mentioned in your syllabus, but there is a maybe chances they also ask question also ask in exam on application of battery. In battery, now we will start applications of solid electrolytes. The development of solid state conducting solid that are on a the development of solid state conducting solids that are with liquid electrolytes has revolutionized the design of batteries and other solid state ionic devices. In recent year, and this section explain the operating principle behind some of these devices. In figure 5.15 is a simple schematic diagram which will which we can use to explain the operation of several different types of electrochemical device. In this figure 5.15, a diagram of general electrochemical device using solid electrolyte. B, this B diagram, a general electrochemical cell based on a metal and its oxide in the discharge mode. And in this C, the same cell under recharging. Here, these AC are electrodes and B are solid electrolytes. This is external circuit and current collector. Again here electrolytes, metal oxide, metal anode, cathode and current collector. And this is the cell under recharging: electrolytes, metal oxide, cathode, anode, plus minus, and these are the current collectors. The solid electrolytes B in this A diagram A, which is able to conduct ions but not electrons, is sandwiched between two electrodes A and C, which are connected by an external circuit around which electrons can flow. Now we are discuss actual mechanism of solid electrolytes in fuel cells. Fuel cells work on the same principle as a battery. The difference is that instead of the fuel for the reaction being contained in the electrode material, as in a battery. It is now fed in externally to the electrodes. This has the huge advantage that the cell can operate continuously as long as the fuel is available. Unlike a battery which either has to be thrown away once the battery material is exhausted or recharged by plugging into an electricity supply for several hours. To reverse the cell reaction, in fuel cell, the fuel used are usually hydrogen and oxygen from air, which react together electrochemically to produce water, electricity, and heat. Hydrogen is fed to the anode where it is oxidized to H plus ions and electrons. The electrons travel around the external circuit and the H plus ions travel through the electrolyte to the cathode, where they react with a supply of O2. Another other great advantages of fuel cell is that the byproduct of water and heat are both potentially useful and non-polluting. The fact that hydrogen and oxygen combine at low temperature compared with normal combustion means that side reaction producing polluting polluting NOx are avoided. That is, nitrogen oxides are avoided. Fuel cell operate with an efficiency of 50% or more. This compare with 15 to 20% for internal combustion engine and 30% for diesel engines. Fuel cells are currently intensively developed as they have the potential to provide power in a relatively non-polluting fashion. Legislation in the United States requires that percentage of all new vehicles should emit no hydrocarbons or oxides of nitrogen. And so it is called zero emission vehicle. The current internal combustion engine cannot meet such a stringent demand and so alternatives have to be found. The main The main are electric cars which run on either batteries or fuel cells or a combination of the two. Current development now include not only fuel cells driven buses and cars but also power sources for homes and factories. Micro fuel cells for mobile phones and laptops have been developed. Not with not with Notwithstanding all the advantages of fuel cells, complications and drawbacks to their uses also exist. The reduction of oxygen at the anode is rather slow at low temperature. To increase the rate of reaction, an expensive platinum catalyst is incorporated into the carbon electrodes. If the electrolyte allows the passage of H plus ions, the cell reaction can be written here. Before this cell reaction, I discuss a schematic diagram of fuel cell here. Anode A, external circuit, and cathode C. In between, electrolyte B is sandwich. Here, oxygen, and this side hydrogen. This is catalyst. Here, a zero emission hybrid fuel cells, lithium ion battery powered bus from UTC Power operating in Hartford City, USA from UTC Power with permission. This is zero emission hybrid fuel cell. Here, these are the cell reaction for fuel cells. H2 gas, PTC electrode, this A, hydrogen electrode B, and this platinum carbon electrode oxygen, this platinum with oxygen gas is cathode, this is hydrogen platinum electrode is anode, and this hydrogen electrode is a electrolyte. This hydrogen is the electrolyte. At anode, the reaction H2 is equal to twice H plus plus 2 electron, and at cathode 1 half O2 plus twice H plus 2 plus twice electron gives water. The theoretical EMF for this cell calculated from the Gibbs function for decomposition of water. EMF is equal to 1.229 volt at 298 Kelvin. But this decreases with temperature about 1 volt at 500 Kelvin. A compromise in cell design is therefore always needed between the voltage generated and an operating temperature high enough to maintain a fast reaction. The oxygen supply comes simply from the air, but a major drawback is the supply, transportation, and storage of the hydrogen. The current infrastructure of fuel stations is for the supply of liquid fuel. Petrol, such as gasoline and diesel, hydrogen gas at room temperature is the least dense of all the elements and has to be compressed or liquefied in order to store it in a manageable volume. Compressed hydrogen needs a strong tank that can withstand the high pressure involved. These cylinders are very heavy. Liquefied hydrogen requires cooling and must be kept very cold. Boiling point is minus 253 degrees Celsius. So the tank must be extremely well insulated. Research is underway to develop materials such as carbon nanotubes, which will store large amount of hydrogen and release it when needed. Although hydrogen is probably less dangerous than liquid hydrogen fuel, hydrogen is less dangerous than liquid hydrocarbon fuel. Public perception about its safety needs to be overcome. Many people have seen old footage of the hydrogen filled Hindenburg airship exploding on landing. Hydrogen also has to be generated. Very pure hydrogen required by some fuel cells is produced electrolytically, which is an expensive process unless cheap sources of electricity can be found, such as solar energy or hydroelectric power. The alternative is to use of reforming reaction where hydrogen-rich sources such as methane or methanol are reacted with steam to produce hydrogen and carbon dioxide. To avoid the transport and storage problems, hydrogen can also be produced in situ using a reformer and fed directly into fuel cells. The reforming reaction has its own problems in that the catalyst is poisoned by sulfur in the fuel. In addition, small quantities of carbon monoxide are produced along with the hydrogen in the reforming reactions. And this also poisons the platinum catalyst in the fuel cells, thereby reducing its efficiency. Fuel cells have been around for quite a long time. It was in 1839 that William Grove, a Welsh physicist, made the first working fuel cells. But not until 1959 that Tom Bacon at Cambridge University produced a stock of 40 alkaline fuel cells that produce 5 kilowatt of power. Around the same time, Willard Grubb and Leonard Nidrack at General Electric developed conducting membrane fuel cells with a platinum catalyst on a titanium gauge. which was used in the Germany Earth Orbit Space Program. In 1965, Pratt and Whitney had improved, that is longer life, the alkaline fuel cells for use in the Apollo mission where they provided both power and drinking water. For the astronauts, Apollo mission where they provide both power and drinking water for the astronauts. In 1983, Ballard Power in Canada was established, and in 1993 unveiled the first fuel cells buses which went into service in Chicago. 2004 saw the fuel cell powered buses in London. Several types of fuel cells are currently under development using different electrolyte systems: phosphoric acid, alkaline molten carbonate, regenerative zinc air prototype ceramic, proton exchange membrane, direct methanol, and solid oxide. The last four contain solid electrolytes. This is all about fuel cells. Next, solid oxide fuel cells. Solid oxide fuel cells employ a ceramic oxide such as ceria or yttria doped zirconia Y2O3 oblique ZrO2. Electrolytes which becomes O2 minus conducting at a very high temperature 800 to 1000 degrees Celsius. This system has the disadvantages of needing energy to heat the cell, but the advantage that at this temperature reforming and H plus production can take place internally without the need for expensive platinum catalyst. Because of the long time needed to get the cell up to its operating temperature, it is not useful for powering vehicle, but it can be used for power generation in building and industry. The cell reaction for solid oxide fuel cells is hydrogen electrode anode, solid oxide electrode, and oxygen electrode is cathode. For in the anode, the reaction hydrogen plus O2 minus gives water plus 2s electron. At cathode, the reaction takes place 1 half O2 plus twice electron gives O2 minus. It is vital that the solid oxide electrolyte can withstand the extreme conditions of hydrogen at the anode at 800 degrees Celsius or above. Under these conditions, many oxides would be reduced, liberating electrons and thus leading to unwanted electronic conductivity. The cathode material used have to conduct both oxide ions and electrons satisfactorily, 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 but in addition, for compatibility, they must have similar thermal expansion coefficient as the electrolyte. The strontium doped perovskite LSM, capital LSM, is one of the material of choice. Next, proton exchange membrane fuel cells. Proton exchange membrane fuel cells. There is currently great interest in the proton exchange membrane cells which operate at a much lower temperature such as 80 degrees Celsius. Here the electrolyte is a conducting polymer membrane, usually, usually Nafion, which is a sulfonated fluoropolymer made by DuPont. Strengthened by Gore-Tex, the strongly acidic SO2OH group allows the passage of H plus ions but not of atoms or electrons. Output is typically 1 volt at 80 degrees Celsius with a current flow of 0.5 ampere per square centimeter. This drops to 0.5 volt because of ohmic losses. A membrane of 1 meter square provides about 1 kilowatt. To produce the correct power output, a number of cells are placed together to form a stock. Most car manufacturers now have prototype zero emission vehicle and the first hydrogen fuel cell consumer vehicle. Uh, a Nissan 4x4 pickup truck went on went on sale in the USA in 2005. 250 kilowatt fuel cells are made which provides enough heat and electricity to power industry and indeed for establishment needing high reliability and backup power supplies such as banks and hospitals. Smaller systems, 7 kilowatt, about the size of refrigerator, are produced that can provide all the power necessary for a house and the heat produced can also be harnessed to provide hot water. Fuel cells are still used to power the space shuttle because of a European Union initiative. Daimler Chrysler built between 20 and 30 fuel cells buses for use in 8 European cities, three of which were three of were destined for London 2004. The buses run on compressed hydrogen stored in tank in the roof with a power of 200 kilowatt. The cylinders are recharged from a hydrogen filling station set up by British Petroleum for the project. Each bus has a range of up to 300 km, a top speed 80 km per hour and carries 770 passengers. On a smaller scale, microfuel cells might soon replace batteries in electrical equipment such as mobile phones and palm-top computers. These cells can be replenished easily and quickly by adding more fuel in the form of methanol capsule. Although fuel cells offer exciting possibilities for the future, the current reality is that the electricity produced by them is still expensive, anything up to 8 times that produced in a traditional generating plant with gas-fired turbines. Fuel cells also need to improve reliability with better catalysts, which are not poisoned by emission from the reformer. There is no doubt, however, that they are strong contenders for the technology of the future, offering as they do the possibility to move towards greener hydrogen economy, thus eliminating greenhouse gas emission. This is all about fuel cells. Here in this figure 5.20, 1 milliwatt fuel cells, direct fuel cells, power plant from fuel cell energy, installed at California State University, Northridge, CA, USA, and B and same of an SOFC cross section showing porosity of the electrolyte. This is same showing porosity of electrolyte. Next, oxygen sensors. This is schematic representation of an oxygen meter. Here, oxygen, stabilized zirconia electrolyte, twice O2 minus, P is equal to P double dash, and here also P is equal to P double dash, oxygen gas, and this is joined by using external circuit. This is porous electrolyte. Oxygen sensors, calcia stabilized zirconia. Calcia stabilized zirconia is used in the detection of oxygen in both oxygen meters and oxygen sensors. In figure depicts a slab of calcia stabilized zirconia acting as the solid electrolyte B, B, which separate two regions containing oxygen at different pressure. Gas pressure tend to equalize if they can, and so if P dash is greater than P double dash. Oxygen ions, which are able to pass through the stabilized zirconia, tend to pass through the solid from the right hand side to the left. This tendency produces a potential difference because ions are charged, indicating that oxygen is present in the sensor, and measurement of this potential gives a measure of oxygen pressure difference in oxygen meter. Oxygen ions is reduced to O2 minus at the right hand electrode, that is cathode. The oxide ions are able to pass through the doped zirconia and are oxidized to oxygen gas at the left hand electrode, that is anode. The equation for cell reaction is here at anode twice O2 minus gives O2 P double dash plus 4 electron, at cathode O2 P dash plus 4 electron gives twice O2 minus. Overall reaction O2 oxygen P dash gives O2 P double dash. Under standard condition, we can relate the change in Gibbs free energy for the preceding reaction to the standard EMF of the cell. Delta G is equal to minus N F E0. The Nernst equation allows calculation of the cell EMF under non-standard condition E if the cell reaction is given by general equation small a into capital A plus small b into capital B plus x small x into capital X plus small y into capital Y plus a plus b up to the n number is equal to x plus y plus this is going on. Then E is equal to E0 minus 2.303 RT upon NF log of a raised to x a to the base x raised to x into a to the base y raised to y dot upon a to the base capital A raised to a to the base capital B raised to b dot where the quantities ax etc. this small ax where the quantities ax ay are the activities of the reactant and product. Applying the Nernst equation to the cell reaction in the oxygen meter, we obtain E is equal to E0. Here this symbol you also say that E0. E is equal to E0 minus 2.303 RT upon 4F log of P double dash upon P dash. In this particular case, E0 is actually 0 because under standard conditions, the pressure of the oxygen on each side would be 1 atmosphere and there would be no net potential difference. The pressure of the oxygen on one side of the cell, for instance P double dash, is said to be known reference pressure. Usually either poor oxygen at 1 atmosphere or atmospheric oxygen pressure nearly equal to 0.21 atmosphere. Making these two changes, we obtain E is equal to 2.303 RT upon 4F log of P dash upon P reference. All the quantities in this equation are now known or can be measured, affording a direct measure of the unknown oxygen pressure P dash. For this cell to operate, there must be no electronic conduction through the electrolyte. Oxygen meters find industrial uses in the detection of oxygen in waste gases from chimney or exhaust pipes, in investigation into the operation of furnaces, and in measuring the oxygen content in molten metals during the production process. This same principle has been employed in developing sensors for other gases by using different electrolytes. For example, it includes in hydrogen, fluorine, H2F2, chlorine, Cl2, carbon dioxide, CO2, SOx, sulfur oxide, and NOx, NOx, nitrogen oxide. This is all about oxygen sensors and oxygen meters. The next application of solid electrolyte is electrochromic devices. Electrochromic devices work in the opposite sense to an electrochemical cell. Instead of Instead of harnessing the chemical reaction between the electrodes to give an electric current is applied to the cell, causing the movement of ions through the electrolyte and creating a colored compounds in one of the electrodes. When an electric current is applied to the following device: anode lithium CO2, electrolyte solid electrolyte lithium niobium O3, and cathode W tungsten O3. Here not figure is not shown. If you see figure, you clear the idea, and you are more better understand. Sorry, I not given here figure, but here remember at anode this material, at cathode this material, and solid electrolyte is lithium niobium O3. Here this lithium 1 X COO2, lithium niobium O3 is the solid electrolyte, and at cathode lithium XWO3. Lithium plus ions flow from the anode through the colorless electrolyte to form LiXWO3 at the cathode, changing it from almost colorless to deep blue. This gives the potential for interesting smart devices such as windows, which can be switched from clear to colored to control temperature in building and cars. This is the application of this electrochromic device. In this diagram, there is an electrochromic device, electrochromic office windows. These are the electrochromic office windows. I already say that this gives the potential for interesting smart devices such as windows, which can be switched from clear to colored to control temperature in building and car. This electrochromic window control the temperature in building and cars. This is all about electrochromic devices. Here these are the lithium plus color state. This color state control the temperature of building and cars. Student, in this lecture we learn about application of solid electrolytes. In that, first application is fuel cells, then sensors, oxygen sensors, and last application is electrochromic device. Also, one of the most important application is batteries. There is a type of batteries. This point not I cover in this lecture because these points are not given in your syllabus, but you remember batteries is also one of the most important application of solid electrolyte. There is maybe chances to ask application question on batteries in your exam. Therefore, you read also one of the extra application in batteries of solid electrolytes. Now I will stop here. This all your content in this lecture are referred taken from the reference your from your syllabus, that is first reference Elaine A. Murray and Leslie E. Smart, Solid State Chemistry and Introduction, third edition and fourth edition. Thank you for your kind of attention.